Welcome back to the LuxeGen Group Chat. We have a special episode today, hot off the tails of Silverstone last weekend and F1 season. Lola and I are joined by broadcaster, former racing driver, and now one of the most recognisable voices in motorsport, Naomi Schiff.
What is the most expensive part of the sport?
The equipment is one thing. You're paying rent and like use of that car. A test day in an F3 car costs 15 grand.
She's here today to chat about her journey into motorsports and her broadcasting career, her opinions on the industry today, particularly with the influx of motorsport in mainstream media. Have you guys watched the new F1 movie?
Lewis obviously helped them get access to everything they needed to. So they were heavily embedded in the sport. It's not like they tried to make a movie from a distance. Like they were actually on the grid.
Plus, she tells us some behind the scenes secrets and stories. For example, she was on the James Bond movie.
Anytime you see Lashana Lynch in the car, it's me.
Oh my
driving.
gosh. And the unexpected celeb fans of F1 that she met.
Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas.
No.
And I was like, excuse me, what?
It's a good one. Enjoy. Well, welcome, Naomi.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. We're going to kick off, as we do every episode, with our outfits. So, Lola, what are you wearing today?
I just realised before you said that, I'm full mango today.
Are you?
Yeah,
Amazing.
I think mango is so good at the moment
really
for
is.
summer clothes. So this is their summer collection. So nice and thin trousers, but I love the like thick waistband because getting too full covers it. This little poncho sort of thing. And then little white mango tee underneath.
So good.
And
Very
then
cute.
Birks, of course,
Very
because
nice.
I don't want to wear anything other than Birks at the moment.
Are those the ones we got the other day?
Yeah, at
Very
MacArthur
good.
Glen.
MacArthur Glen.
Very nice.
Naomi, what are you wearing today?
So, starting with the shoe, I'm wearing Adidas Japans, which are low profile, so gives you the racing feel. Frankie Shop blazer. And I think this is just like a Zara basic bodysuit. Then, yeah, just my accessories, my tag watch, my favorite accessory.
Just glistening.
And, yeah, that's it really.
Love.
Sap?
I am in a tee from the brand called Too Young for Sushi. I feel like we keep talking about the fish trend at the moment, and I've actually had this for ages, so.
It's Sardine Girl Summer, apparently.
It is sardine girl summer.
What's the brand called?
Too Young for Sushi.
It's very cute.
It's really cute. It's on Instagram. They've got some like cute
What does
little
that even
bits.
mean? Too
I
young
don't
for
know.
sushi?
I actually don't know.
What does that mean?
What's the like
no
PG?
idea.
PG what to eat sushi?
I just don't know. But also when I tuck it in, it just says Too Young. I'm like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's me.
Love it.
Some Zara linen trousers and actually some Zara mules as well.
And your necklace,
Oh, this is also Zara. God, we've got a lot of Zara wrapping today, but this is such a good find, actually. They have like a set of 3, and I think they come out with this every year with like fun little charms, but it's just a...
Love the little chili on it.
Yeah.
Very
I
cute.
love the chili.
Naomi, we're very excited to speak to you today. We want to start at the very beginning. I hear that you got into racing and motorsports from like a birthday party or something.
Yes.
How did you kind of get into it, and how did you turn it from a passion to your career?
When I was young, I was always very, very competitive. Like from a young age, everything I did, whether it was play Monopoly or do sports at school, everything was a competition to me. So the inner competitor was always there. And from already quite a young age, I was competing in the likes of like judo or athletics at school. I did a lot of swimming as well. And then, one day I was invited to an indoor go-karting birthday party of a family friend.
I love those
parties.
I know, right?
It was actually the first time I'd ever done it. So I'd never been to an indoor kart circuit. I think when I was really young, I always wanted, like, those electric toy cars that kids get. That was always like my dream gift. Like I always was waiting for someone to gift me something like that. So the idea of driving was always, I guess, something I was somewhat interested in. But then, I got to this indoor go-karting birthday party. I must have been quite good at it because if I wasn't, I would not have enjoyed it. And then, at the end of the day, when they said it was over, I was quite like sad. I was like, no, please, can we go again? And begged my dad to take me back on multiple occasions, and he did, which was really helpful because had he not, we probably wouldn't be chatting here today. But it was quite quickly after that I had switched that from just like a fun hobby thing that I was doing with my dad to racing. It took pretty much a year, and I was signed up to my first race.
Wow.
That's so quick.
And how old were you?
I was 11. So I was 11 when I was
young.
when I went to the party, and then like for a year we were training and like going out and driving a bit. And then by the time I did my first race, I must have been either just about to be 12 or 12.
Where was it?
This was in South Africa.
In
So
South Africa,
I was born in
right.
Belgium, and when I was about 4, we moved to South Africa. So that took place in South Africa.
You started professionally around that age when you were 12.
Yeah.
And how was that how did you, I guess, progress in that way? Like, how many years did it take you to get to that level where you were like, oh my God, I've made it?
So, yeah, it's difficult because when you say professional, it's like, it's professional karting, as in,
Right. It's like
but
yeah.
you know, no one's paying you to do it,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, it's not hobby level anymore. It
Yes.
is like competitive sport, but you're not necessarily making a living out of it. So it took me, well, as I said, we trained for a while. My dad actually bought himself a go-kart before he bought me a go-kart because it's an expensive sport, right? So if you're going to invest in it, you want to know that your kid is invested in it, like committed, right? So I went with my dad so many times, and then eventually he realized that like this was not fading, like my interest in it wasn't fading, and
He thought it was a phase and it wasn't.
he thought it might be a phase, right? And fair enough, because you don't really know.
Yeah.
Especially when you're so young, you're like, oh, it's
Exactly.
a hobby. And it's-
Yeah.
Like your interests come and go so
Yeah.
quickly. So like eventually he bought me my own go-kart, and then we trained up until the first race of the next season, which was 2007 was the year I started. And yeah, at first I actually didn't want to race. Like I was really enjoying just driving around and like getting good at it. But I always say that it was like a time in my life where like being 11, 12 years old, you're like becoming very socially aware and like you really just want to fit in and you don't want to like stand out. And I remember going to the racetrack and there was no one that really looked like me. And I was like, do I want to be compared to the boys? I didn't really know.
Were you the only girl?
So there was probably like one or two other girls in other categories. So not many at all.
Yeah.
And I remember when like in that phase of karting, there were probably 4 of us in South Africa as a whole. Wow. And we were like racing in different regions. So it wasn't necessarily that every time I rocked up to the track, there was another girl.
Yeah.
I might have been the only one sometimes. So yeah, so it's like quite a contrast and it's quite daunting at that age. But with a little bit of tough love, my dad was like, we're just going to sign you up to the first race. And then if you don't like it, we won't do it again.
Aww.
And thankfully I came out of that race with a big smile on my face and loved it. So yeah, to answer your question, it was about a year from the indoor karting birthday till when I was entered into my first race. Amazing. Wow. And I raced at club level for the first year. But the next year after that, I moved straight up to national level. So I was competing in the South African Championship.
It always surprises me how young people are when they start. Like it's
karting.
actually crazy that you can even even to think of someone like at 12 or 13 being able to drive is kind of crazy.
So the crazier thing is that when I started, I was very much behind the curve. I was actually quite old.
Yeah, you start a lot younger, don't you?
Exactly. So most people nowadays, I think, started roughly 6 or 7. But in South Africa, there was a category that was even younger. So most of my competitors had started at the age of 4. So to think that at 12, your competitors have 8 years of experience over you is also just, the numbers.
Yeah, we had met Bianca Bustamante and she had come on here and she said when she was 3, she was
To be
doing
fair,
it.
yeah, she was super young.
And it's so cute. I mean, when you see the kids racing at that age, it is very cute. But yeah, I obviously was busy doing something else when I was 3.
You were doing it all, basically.
Yeah,
you were doing the judo.
No, I think I was probably playing with some dolls or some cars with some toys, drooling on myself. I don't know. Nothing too sophisticated.
Well, what was your kind of biggest pinch me? I mean, you've raced, you've won, you've done all the big things. Out of all of your kind of career, what's the thing that stands out to you of like, I can't believe I actually did that?
Pinch me moments, I think, happen so often now. To think like where I started and how hard we worked on getting somewhere in motorsport, and then obviously things have taken a bit of a turn along the way, but there's a lot of pinch me moments. I would say more so than a pinch me moment, I think something that was really pivotal was when I raced in W Series, which was the first ever women's racing series. Yeah, I think that was really a turning point for me, and especially in the way that I see motorsports and the importance it's given for me anyway, into like what's my why and like why am I doing all of this. But yeah, I think probably qualifying to be on that grid. So there was like hundreds of women from across the world who entered, and then I think 60 of us were selected for the first phase, and then finally it came down to like 30 of us, and then 18 of us made it onto the grid. So making it onto that grid was definitely something that for me that was, first of all, I thought it was quite an achievement, but second of all, it changed the course of the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So,
and how old were you when you made it onto the W Series?
That would have been 2018. How old would I have been in 2018? Wait, I was born in 1994. I was 24.
Wow,
Okay.
that's amazing.
Wow.
And I mean, you obviously now are a huge broadcaster, presenter, pundit. What sort of made you step back, I suppose, from being behind the wheel to doing that?
I would love to say that it was like a decision that I solely made myself. Motorsport, as you probably know, is a very expensive sport. And I think I started racing when I was 12 in 2007. And then when I was finished with high school, I moved back to Europe to like follow that dream and that passion. So I was 18 then, and we never really had a lot of money at home. So my dad did everything he could to put me through some of my karting. But even in karting, we already had sponsors and help.
Yeah.
And then to make that step from go-karts to cars is even more expensive. And it was quite difficult for me to get backing in Europe because I was less of a known name. So, I mean, my dad took a second loan on his house to send me racing for a year. And the championship that he'd invested that money in went bankrupt. And so we lost the money after like 1 or 2 races. I hadn't been able to make a name for myself, and all that money went to waste, which today I understand more than I did at the time, like what kind of impact that would have not only on me in the moment, which is what I cared about at the time, but also on my dad. And then from there, if I'm totally honest, it felt like, you know, when you falling and you're like trying to catch yourself and you're like catching yourself for a while, I feel like the rest of my career was just like struggling to get above the water or like struggling to keep on my feet, because we just always were scraping for like sponsors here, a sponsor there. And people will sometimes look at my results and be like, oh, well, what did she achieve or what did she do? And I think they don't have an understanding of like how those things work. And the fact that I never ever, like from the time I moved to Europe until pretty much 2018, so that was like a good 6-year period, I never competed in a full season of anything because we didn't have the money. So I was driving, like I do a race here in one championship and then like 2 races in another championship, and we were just like always trying to get something going. And then eventually I was like scouted by a team that was based in the south of Germany, and I got a 5-year contract with them, which was great. But I still didn't do loads of driving because they themselves needed money. So they put a lot of paid drivers in the car. And when there was an opportunity for me to get in, I did. So yeah, I think it was like a long time coming. And W Series was like the last saving grace for me, where it was like, okay, now I can compete at an equal level with, you know, on an equal playing field. I don't have to bring money to this and whatever. And then when I wasn't on the grid for 2020 in that case, which ended up there was no grid because of COVID. So my plan was 2020, I wasn't going to be on the W Series grid, but my plan was to try, because of the traction that I had in 2019 being in the series, I was going to go out, find the sponsorship, like train, prepare myself. And I hadn't been in a single seater for 6 years when I raced in W Series. Yeah. So I was like having to like dial out all my GT driving habits and learning as I was going, because I had no money to go testing that year. So I thought to myself, you know what, I'll take a year out, I'll find the money, I'll train, and then I'll come back in 2021 bigger and better and faster, and, you know, everything will be grand. And then obviously COVID hit. So all the drivers who'd been selected for 2020, they were automatically going to be transferred to the 2021 grid because the season was cancelled in 2020. So that grand plan of mine would then have meant that I would have had to be out of the seat for 2 years, which in itself is really difficult to keep sponsors on board when you're not really competing anything.
And training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like at that point I knew like it was really like the end, and I wasn't getting any younger. So I was 25 then, going on 26, probably would have been 27 when I got back in the car. And I thought to myself, where's this going? You know, like how much longer am I going to struggle? And then, so I was kind of trying to make a decision. Mind you, throughout all of that racing career of mine, I was working jobs. So I'd learned a lot along the way, and I'd managed a race team and done a lot of other things. I was stunt driving in movies, and I was trying to think, like, what do I want to... Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
What
cool.
movie?
The last James Bond.
Oh, amazing.
No Time to Die.
So cool.
That's really
So
cool.
anytime you see Lashana Lynch in the car, it's me
Oh my
driving.
gosh.
That is amazing.
And
But that's
then-
really interesting. Or, like, I think people obviously know that motorsports is a very expensive sport, but the fact that you know, had to do other jobs and work as well at the same time is really interesting. I think not as many people know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
You typically see on the F1 grid, like a lot of the drivers had come from quite a lot of wealth growing up. A few haven't, but the like difference in just like opportunities is so like varied if you don't already start with money. What is the most expensive part of the sport?
The combination of everything. We're like traveling all over the world, so there's like big logistical costs. There's you're not like, it's like as if you would go to a lawyer, that would cost you a lot of money. You're dealing with like highly qualified engineers, so like just the time that you have them on track with you costs money. So it's like the expertise, the cars, obviously the equipment, but the equipment is one thing. You're paying rent and like use of that car.
Yeah.
And it's broken down into like what that costs over a lap. So a test day in an F3 car costs 15 grand. Wow. Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah, it is wild. And I mean, that's like with a good team. You can probably get in a car for a little less if you, you know. But
if you want to win.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that all has an effect. And you think like consumption of tires, consumption of fuel, you've got to pay to rent the track, or, you know, you're not necessarily renting it exclusively, but you still pay a fee to be there for the day. So the money just adds up. You've got to get a truck and a truck driver, and they've all got to bring all this equipment. And it's just like quite a big organization to get to the track,
which a lot of people don't see now.
You sort of see the glossy end product of like,
course.
you know.
Yeah, it's like a fashion show almost, and they're not saying like, no, you pay every little bit for
it.
Out of your own pocket. I mean, the sponsors help, but...
Look, I mean, it depends. Like my dad could only get me through my karting phase, and then after that, everything was either sponsors or like being a part of a team that were like, okay, we see your talent, we're going to support you.
Yeah.
But those opportunities come few and far between. And then even the money that sponsors are willing to put in, it's like they want to return. And it's difficult when you don't have access and like all this money, and maybe some of your competitors have access to so much more. Yeah. So it is, tricky to... But so honestly, it wasn't my personal decision to end my career. I would have loved to have continued. But I also knew that like I had been trying for a very long time. Like it was 16 years when I stopped, and I was like tired. But
it's like a very smart pivot, because you have all the expertise, you've been there, so now being able to present and be a pundit, like, you know, that's kind of
it wasn't even I wasn't necessarily like my idea to present. I was actually working for Dhabi Series at the time. So in that year that I was off in 2020, they'd asked me to come on board and help them with some stuff. And they obviously thought I was quite good at it, and had asked me if I wanted to join the broadcast lineup in 2021. And I thought, you know what, why not? Like, I'll give it a try. At that point, I was like, didn't really know where my life was going. Like in my head, I was always going to be a racing driver, and that was like a huge part of my identity. So I was like having a bit of an identity crisis, like what's next? Who am I if I'm not a racing driver? And then this opportunity came up, and it honestly just, I want to say like I stumbled into it. So.
Did you know you were going to be good at that?
I would say that I was never like afraid of a camera. So, but at the same time, I think because I was coming from such a naive point of view, and that I'd never put much thought into presenting. It wasn't something that I dreamed of my whole life. Like when I first did it, there wasn't like all this weight and pressure on my shoulders, because I hadn't built up this moment to be like, I'm finally doing it. So I think
do it right there and there.
I think that I kind of eased into it because I didn't understand the gravity of it. If anything, like later on, I went,
oh shit, this is for real.
There's like millions of people on the other side of the camera. It came quite naturally to begin with. And then of course, when you step up, then you know that like you're working with the best in the industry, and whatever you want to like live up to people's expectations, and you realize that there's tricks to the trade that like I had to learn and all that stuff. But it's been a learning curve for sure, and I've enjoyed it a lot.
You touched on this before, but you were obviously one of the only women and the only woman of colour on the track at that level at that time. And still now you're one of the most visible women of colour in motorsport. Do you feel that sense of, I guess, responsibility, pressure? Like, how can you speak to that a little bit?
Back to where I was saying that W Series for me was very pivotal. Like, motorsport can be a very selfish sport, right? There's a big team behind you that make things happen, and you can't achieve the results you do without them, 100%. But at the end of the day, you're the person in the car, you're the person who stands on the top of the podium, you're the person who collects the trophies. And it can be quite a selfish cycle, and it becomes all about like collecting these trophies, and I did this and I did that. And that's great, right? We all love sport, we all put a lot of effort into it. We're not knocking anyone. But when I raced in W Series, there was actually an event at Brands Hatch where they brought down a group of girls from an organization called Goals for Girls, who all come from like difficult backgrounds, and all had like, not all of them necessarily were from minority ethnic backgrounds, but a lot of them were. They came to the track and they saw us racing in W Series, and they were all so surprised, first and foremost, to see women racing. But the majority of the girls who were from minority ethnic backgrounds all came to me and they were like, but how are you doing this? Like, as if it was even more shocking that a person of color could be racing, you know? And that for me was a real like coin drop moment in my career, where I remember, as I was saying, when I was young, I would go to the track and people didn't look like me. And I was quite lucky that the year I started racing in 2007 was the same year that Lewis started racing in F1. So whilst he wasn't exactly like me, I had someone in the sport that I could identify with as like an identifiable role model. And I knew that that was important for me, you know, at the time when I was young. So obviously I'm at this track on this day and all the girls are like shocked and leaning towards me and are clearly very inspired. And I thought to myself, oh, wow, like I could be that person for someone. Like maybe there's a bigger picture here.
We were talking about this earlier, that motorsports has come such a long way. I mean, even just with more women representation, but also the younger fans, the mainstream movies, like Tate McRae doing music videos.
Yeah.
To do
I know,
with the,
right?
But like with all of this conversation and this kind of spotlight, what's your opinion on it all? I'd love to know.
I think F1, Liberty Media have done an incredible job because when I was young and I was racing, I don't remember any time my girlfriends were interested in coming to a race or interested in what I was doing.
Yeah.
Today, all of my girlfriends
Everybody
love
wants to go.
Formula One.
Yeah.
And so just to see that direct change in my own ecosystem is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's opened up like our sport, which sometimes can be quite difficult to reach or get to because it's behind like quite a big like barrier. It's opened it up to the world. And I think Liberty Media have done, as I said, an incredible job of changing the way that they approach an audience. Drive to Survive obviously played a huge role in, you know, the change in audience and the demographics. And we can't like, honestly, I think you can't quantify how much of an impact that's had on the sport. But Drive to Survive on its own is not enough, right? We need to be able to convert those Drive to Survive fans into Formula One, the sport fans, and have them stay on board. So like I obviously work with Sky Sports and we think a lot about how we can change our content to make it more interesting for a wider range of audience. Because of course in the past, your traditional motorsport fan was like a middle-aged white man, like from a middle-class background. And today that's changed a lot. Of course.
Now it's the girlies.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we've got to cater to the girlies. And whilst that's not, I wouldn't say the struggle, but that's the challenge because you've still got a traditional motorsport audience that are still 100% dedicated to the sport. And we don't want them to feel like, what's happened to our sport,
kind of
right?
what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
That obviously the drivers aren't as keen on Drive to Survive. And they've kind of hinted at, I mean, Max has definitely said it like clearly. I was wondering, like earlier, is it a positive and negative? I understand the positive is you've got the girlies involved, we're all watching. But a negative for those like traditional fans who now like just look at the races like a fashion show or just a TikTok ground. Like, do you think it's kind of like equal for the OG viewers?
100%. I think if anything, the OG fan is still the fan that we cater the most to. Like the sport hasn't changed. Fundamentally, when lights go out on Sunday, it's the same stuff. We're talking about the same topics. It's still strategic. It's still technical. We're still bringing that kind of that content and that information to the audience as we always have. But I think often change is met with resistance and it is daunting to people when they feel a sense of ownership over something, but we've ultimately opened it up to just a much wider, like, okay, everyone's got their lane, right? You've got your traditional motorsports fan, you've got your girlies who are really technical, you've got like, there's literally a lane for so many different people. Our challenge as broadcasters is to make it interesting for everybody. You know, that traditional motorsport fan is still a huge part of the audience and it's probably still the most committed part of the audience. And so you can't forget them. You've still got to cater to them in the way that you had in the past. But what can we add? What can we tweak? Like what graphics can we put on screen that make that technical element more understandable for someone who's new to the sport?
Definitely had a lot before, like when I first watched Drive to Survive, which is how I got into it. Like I'm not an OG watcher, but I did get a lot of like boys or men coming up to me being like, but do you even know what like DRS means? Like, you just watch Drive to Survive, like you don't really know. And I'm like, no, actually, because it was my stepping stone, but it got me to understand what actually is going on in the race.
Of course.
And you're right, like Sky like puts on screen like kind of like understanding about tires, and like I wouldn't have really got that from Drive to Survive. Like it is just like clear now, which I think is the like important thing for like people our age
Yeah.
to...
Of course. And look, I think if you don't know what DRS is, that's okay.
Yes, thank you.
You know, like you don't need
like,
you don't
I've
need
got
to
no
know
clue.
you don't need to know what DRS is to care about a sport. And as you say, it's just an entry point, and it's a point of interest that you
Yeah.
have, and in like over time you will find out what DRS is.
Yeah.
It's like
I don't need
that's
to be,
okay. You don't
like-
need to prove yourself
Yeah.
to anyone. Like you can like if sport isn't it like it's an experience, an independent experience for each individual. Like the way you consume your sport can be completely different to the way I consume sport and the way you do, and where people would put us into one box, but we're
Yeah.
completely different individuals. So
Yeah.
you do you.
That should be the beauty of
I
it,
will.
really. Yeah. Have you guys watched the new F1 movie? I have not
I
yet.
have.
Of course.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah.
For any of our viewers, listeners, that maybe don't even know what it's about, what's the story? Like, what is it? What are we covering in this movie?
Brad Pitt, who is like...
We're covering Brad Pitt.
No, that's it starts with him and his
Oh, okay.
van. He basically used to race like really, really young, and he stopped when he was like young because of a crash. He had some big crash. This
Yeah.
Is
isn't a
this true
spoiler.
story? As in, is he?
No,
is it
no,
based-
this is
no.
not based
Okay,
on a
cool,
true
cool, cool.
story.
Okay.
His teammate basically approaches him because he's in a load of debt and his team is really struggling. Comes to him being like, I need you to race. And he's like, he goes to this test day and they've got a really young rookie there too, who's like, who is this old guy trying to take my seat?
Yeah.
Like, get him out. He basically joins the team because his knowledge is like amazing about cars. It's
Right.
like everything he's ever known. Like, whereas this rookie doesn't really know as much. And basically, it's actually quite sweet at points, but also kind of confusing. They kind of like lift each other up, help each other in the race.
But they also have like this massive rivalry between each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
The
there's-
other driver's Damson Idris. So it's Damson and Brad, and
Okay.
yeah, the dynamic's
who,
interesting between
if
the two
you've
of them.
watched Snowfall, like I loved seeing him with a British accent. It was really nice because Snowfall, he had an
American
amazing,
accent.
yeah.
Oh, really?
I think it was great fun seeing all the like drivers have their appearances now and again. Loved.
Oh, there
them
were some
to-
cameos?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so they spent 2 years.
Yeah, you would have been there.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking for myself everywhere when I was in the theatre. Like, where am I? I know I was in the back of that shot.
Yeah.
You actually, there's a race where they are doing the national anthem at the British Grand Prix, and this was 2 years ago. And I was wearing a bright pink suit, and I was like, if I'm not going to see myself in this shot, because as Sky, like we always stand right behind the drivers
Yeah.
when they do their national anthem, and I'm very, very, very blurred. Or you can
just
make
like a
out,
pink doll?
literally, all you
Yeah.
can make out is like a blurry pink doll.
Still,
But I know
give
that
her the
was me.
credit.
I know that was me. But so yeah, they came behind the scenes, and I think Lewis, obviously being, I think he's producer on the movie,
Yeah, loved his bit of tension.
right?
Yeah.
And so Lewis obviously helped them get access to everything they needed to. So they were heavily embedded in the sport. It's not like they tried to make a movie from a distance. Like they were
Yeah.
actually on the grid
That's
in
interesting.
Silverstone.
Yeah,
They
I
actually
didn't
took the
know
start
that.
with the drivers.
Yeah.
I thought they were maybe being like sets and like creating it sort of separately, but they were physically there.
They
while
were
it was
physically there. They
happening.
had their own garage. They had their own pit wall.
Yeah.
They were fully embedded into the F1 experience. So I think they tried everything they could to make it as authentic as possible. I know there were colleagues of mine like Bernie Collins. She's an ex-Aston Martin strategist, and she was also a race engineer. She was on board with them as a consultant, helping Kerry, who's basically technical director in the movie.
Which I loved, who was a woman. in
Exactly,
it.
totally. So she was helping her, like just from tiny little things, like her notepad on the pit wall. She would ask Bernie, like, what kind of notes would you typically have, so that I don't just put random information on this. So they really, really did their due
detail.
diligence. Like they were very detail oriented. I think, to be honest, it exceeded my expectations.
Okay.
I don't know if I unfairly had low expectations
gonna say,
because
yeah.
like it kind of like we're in the sport, we live it, we breathe it, we're in it all the time. Like in my head, I was like, how is this ever going to live up to what Formula One is?
Yeah,
how do you
exactly.
replicate this?
Yeah.
So I'd set the expectations low, and I think that they did a fantastic job in conveying the sport. I think the only two things that I thought I didn't personally love so much was the portrayal of women in the movie.
Can I just say, and this is having not known very much, I love the pop culture tea. Simone Ashley apparently just got like completely cut out of the movie.
Yeah.
And do we know why? Do we know
I
what
think
the storyline
because they
is?
didn't want to run with another like sort of relationship line.
Oh, it was a
Yeah.
romance storyline.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what her original character or storyline was supposed to be, but from what I hear, it's also the movie is already very long.
Yes,
And I think that
it
they
was
felt that
really long.
in the end, her storyline maybe wasn't that necessary.
She was another love interest.
They've got a woman who's on the pit crew, like one of their lead mechanics. So they did put women in like
That's
those
good. Yeah.
front-facing positions. But the part where it fell a little flat for me was that the mechanic, like in the first scene, we see her is like making mistakes and like fumbling things, and they kind of had to like build her confidence. And then with Kerry, she obviously has,
The love interest.
spoiler alert, yeah, she has like a bit of a one-night stand with Brad. It could have been any woman in the movie. It didn't have to be the technical director.
Right.
But in any case, so that was one thing that I think I didn't love. I think
Got a
they
bit let
could
down
have. I think
by,
there's
yeah.
a responsibility to make the women in the sport look serious.
Yeah.
And maybe that fell flat a bit.
She was such a girl boss in the beginning,
Yeah.
Carrie. And then, like, Brad was trying to convince her on a date, and she was like, no, not unless you, like, drive faster or win. And then I think that they kind of lost it. They made her look a bit more, I don't
Silly,
know,
yeah.
vulnerable.
Also, she was taking a lot of advice from him, which, like,
Yeah.
hear me out. Racing drivers do have a lot of input and they have to do a lot of feedback with their team. But
Yeah.
she's supposed to be the technical lead and the technical
Right.
director, and she's like taking all this advice
Advice
from Brad.
him. I'd love to know, from everything you've seen, racing commentary, behind the scenes, where do you see the opportunities for growth and involvement with the sports? So, like, what could evolve to take it to the next level?
I mean, all these things we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't think that there's anything. Wait, I'd have to actually really think if there was something I felt that still wasn't like untouched and not being worked on, because I
Yeah.
think as a whole, whether it's something that seems on the surface quite small, like a driver's parade with the Lego cars. Did you guys see that?
I loved this.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. And the drivers were actually having the time of their lives.
Oh my gosh, they had the best time ever. I think it was the best driver parade we've ever seen.
Yeah, they were
And
buzzing.
They were buzzing. But like just little things like that are, again, putting the sport in like some of the spaces you maybe least expected. Like
Yeah.
now all of a sudden there's viral videos of like Lego, and the Lego is such a household
Yeah.
thing that like most people, you know, have played with Lego bricks.
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing is great. Like everyone are really trying to be a part of like the wider like cultural zeitgeist and like showing up in places where we haven't seen it before. F1 Academy is doing so well.
Yeah.
So again, from the female perspective, there's always room for change and for things to get better, but we've got such positive momentum and brands are getting on board, like really cool brands as well.
Charlotte Tilbury.
Charlotte Tilbury, I mean, so many. There's so many wonderful brands on board. F1 is ticking like so many different boxes, but of course, like we still want to see direct impact of like having still a more diverse paddock, and that's not necessarily just female. It's also like more people of color, more people of, you know,
Different abilities.
different
and,
abilities. Like we want the paddock and the sport to represent society, you know, or reflect society, I should say, a little bit more. But again, as I say, they are working on a lot of those things. So
Well, it's really positive to see it's actually come such a long way, and that, you
Totally.
know, generally you don't think there's too much more that it needs to.
And you can
Yeah.
really feel that like the push is not necessarily just coming from F1. Like
Yeah.
the teams are buying into it, the broadcasters are buying into it. Like everyone is sort of carrying their
Yeah.
weight a little bit. But of course, like this is a change that's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. But it's good to see like we're in a
Positive,
very
yeah.
positive space.
Amazing. I'd love to know from both of you any predictions or thoughts ahead of the new regulations coming for the 2026 season, and who you're backing.
Who I'm backing is always McLaren.
Okay.
Always. And I just love Oscar. I love Lando too, but Oscar's something so sweet. Like, just like root for him.
He's just so cool. Like
Yeah.
nothing ever phases him. Like he could win or lose and his face would be the same. And I mean, obviously he's really passionate about it, but he's like very, very, he's like a duck.
Yeah.
Like on the surface, you don't see anything, and
the
underwater,
paddling,
he's probably paddling. But it's interesting. I went to a kart track in South Africa quite recently, and all the kids love Oscar.
Yeah. He's
Like
like,
I was so surprised by that, because I would have thought like Lando is maybe
Like
like a more of a
young, yeah.
flamboyant character, but Oscar's got all the kids on side. They love him.
I think maybe because he was so young when he like got onto the F1 grid that a lot of people like see themselves in him.
Yeah, for
and he's
sure.
just kind of like, he's not too aspirational. He looks just like kind of a chill guy that you want to hang out with.
Just like your normal next door neighbor kind of guy.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, look, the kids out there are spoiled for choice today. I mean, there's so many amazing young drivers. We have 6 rookies on the grid this year. And like Antonelli, who's, I mean, it blows my mind that he's going from like standing on the podium at a race to then rocking up at school the next day to do his final exams.
How old is he?
He's 18.
Yeah.
And so the regulations, what are the changes happening before the 2026 season?
Oh my gosh, it's a very, very big change of regulation. So every couple of years, every 4 so years, the regulations change, technical regulations change, which I think sometimes is a little bit of a shame because we're getting to a place like we started this set of regulations that we're currently on in 2022 and the racing, like clearly Red Bull got off like on a flying start.
Yeah.
And then Max spent a couple of years like winning everything by a margin. And slowly but surely, because of the law of diminishing returns, like if they were at the limit as Red Bull, all the teams slowly like getting closer and closer, and eventually like McLaren got there and have actually overtaken them. And the racing today is so interesting. Last year was so interesting, and now we're going to start all over again. It's like kind of like you go back to the drawing board, but because it is like the pinnacle of motorsport and it's all about technology and innovation, and a lot of these teams are representing their road car brands, like they want to show why they're the best at you know, like creating the next best thing. So this time around we have a really big power unit change. So we're going into like Formula One have a big goal to get to net zero by 2030. So this year already we've got fuels that are more sustainable, and so obviously we're heading in a much more sustainable direction. So essentially we've got this massive power unit change next year, but there's also a lot of chassis changes. So I think it's possibly one of the biggest rule changes we've seen in a long time, and I think it will from what I'm hearing, it's a very big challenge for the teams. And it might change things up a lot,
which is kind of nice to know that I just really want to see like Abu Dhabi, no offense, but 2021
all over again.
Like I just want to see that. I remember that
season was great.
It was amazing.
Abu Dhabi, unfortunately, was such a shame of a result because just the way things went down,
the rules changed.
Was obviously like everyone felt like Lewis was robbed.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. But then also I feel really bad for Max because he wins his first world championship and it'll forever have like...
Over cloud,
Yeah, although like they came into that weekend on equal points. So either way, they would have been deserving winners, you know? So real shame. But the season was great.
It was
right.
amazing.
It was such a competitive season. So.
Yeah. And then the couple of years after it was a bit slow because Max was just dominating the field.
Yeah.
So this could shake things up, basically.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be a massive shake-up. And I think the engines are obviously going to play probably the biggest role. You've got like Mercedes engines or Mercedes power units, which are used by quite a lot of teams. So like McLaren use a Mercedes engine, Williams use a Mercedes engine, Aston Martin do as well. And then Red Bull are creating their own motors. So this is their last year with Honda. And from next year, they have their own engines, so Red Bull powertrains.
Wow, I wonder how that's going to turn out for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they have been working on this project for a couple of years already. So the thing is, in the sport, there's such a big transaction of personnel and like key people. And I'm sure that there's expertise of people from Honda and other teams and power unit manufacturers that are coming on board for Red Bull. Like, I don't think that they're coming into this
not blindsided. Yeah.
Like I think they prepared, but of course it's a big challenge for everyone. It's like it's a huge change this year or next year. So it's going to be interesting to see where people stand. And there's a lot of conversation about where Max is going to go.
Exactly. That's what do you think?
I think that he would be foolish to go anywhere until we know what's going to happen next year. Because literally I think it could completely change. The results next year could be completely like...
We will have no idea until we watch what is going to happen.
So if he's got a contract at Red Bull, if there's no real reason to leave, like being unhappy there, then I would say he should stay and wait to see what teams can produce next year, because he basically can pick where he wants to go. Yeah, I think he can really pick.
When this goes live, it would have just been Silverstone. So this goes just after. But retrospectively or in the future, looking at it as we're filming before, what are you looking forward to? What is your day kind of looking like? Who are you looking forward to see?
In Silverstone?
Yeah.
So honestly, Silverstone is one of my favorite events on the calendar. It's not necessarily one that I always say to people like go and visit, because I always love a race that's near like a great city. But I have to say, because Silverstone's a little bit like remote, they do such a great job at like entertaining fans who are on site. I mean, you've got incredible lineups in the fan zone. We've got Ray performing on Friday nights.
Sapna, you should
So-
go.
I'm on holiday. I'd be there.
Oh gosh, I think it's going to be great. And
Yeah.
also I think for us, and when I say us, I mean Sky as a broadcaster, it's really where we meet a lot of our fans. Like it's, as I say, like a lot of the time you're just talking to a barrel, like a camera, and you don't think of the
other side of it,
3+ million viewers who tune in. And so it's nice to put faces to those people and to meet the audience, which is really lovely. And yeah, there's just such a buzz about it. I mean, we've got a lot of British drivers on the grid, so the fans are just like really invested in their drivers and their British drivers. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It always produces great racing, so I'm excited for the race. A lot of things go down at the British Grand Prix.
Exactly. It's
All the tea.
It is.
I remember being in the paddock, and I'm never having loads of time in the paddock because I'm running from like one broadcast to like another, or like one location to another. And this kid comes up to me. When I say kid, I mean he must have been like 15 or 16. And he approached me and he was like, oh my God, Naomi, I just wanted to say, like, I'm such a big fan of yours. And like, my parents are such a big fan of yours. And I was kind of like, okay, cool. Like, thank you so much. And like, you know, like it happens. But I was also in a bit of a rush. So I was like, cool. Like, I just didn't know, like, did he want a picture, or like, where was the conversation going?
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, like every Sunday, like we tune into the show and we just love to see you. And like my parents just love Formula One as well. And like blah, blah, blah. And he's going on and on. And then he's like about to whip out his camera and his parents rock up.
Oh my God, who are they?
Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas.
No.
And I was like, excuse me, what?
Okay,
Oh my God.
That's a good pinch.
Suddenly you
Right?
weren't busy
Yeah.
anymore.
Like
you were
when
like, I'm going to
no,
stay.
100%. I mean, I still did have to run, but in my head, I was thinking like, again, back to this point that I've said that, you know, we broadcast down the barrel and you don't think of like the homes you get into, or like the who these people are that are watching you on air. And to think that Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas are fans of mine did not register to me. I was like, how is that possible?
That is
That
so
is
cool.
So that's a
so
real
cool.
like pinch me moment.
I'd love to know your advice for our podcasters, you know, for the girlies, any young girls getting into motorsports or even just getting into watching it and, you know, being involved. What would you say to them?
Don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do, or like how you should or shouldn't show up in a space. Do you, if there's something that you love about a sport or anything really in life, like back that up with hard work, dedication, and don't let anyone don't let anyone put a ceiling above your head. Like the world is your oyster. And I think that's so cliche to say.
No, it's so
but
true.
it's true. Like the world will put so many barriers in your way. Like do not be one of them yourself. Like you've got to convince yourself and back yourself that you can do whatever you want. And then the rest you'll take in your stride.
That is very good advice. We're going to do a bit of a quick fire now. Lola, do you want to fire them off?
Yeah, okay. Best race you've ever done?
I would say 24 Hours of Nürburgring.
Okay. Favorite track, racing or reporting?
Favorite track racing, I would say Spa or Sepang, which is in Malaysia. I love both those tracks. And favorite track reporting, oh gosh, the list is long. How are you make me decide? Based off of last year solely, I would say Mexico City.
Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. One career or life decision that didn't go to plan but ended up being the right one.
Retiring. Retiring from motorsports.
Most stressful live TV moment so far?
I once at the British Grand Prix choked on a bug live on air.
So British.
Did you like cough loads, or were you trying to like?
I was like,
Did you start? Yeah.
Then I was hoping the cameraman and the soundies would understand that there was a break and like pan away from me. And I was like mid-answer as well.
Oh no.
Yes, it wasn't even like I was just stood there. I was mid-answer and I don't know what kind of insect it was.
Did
Did
they
you like
pan?
But
address
got
it? And we were
jammed.
like,
yeah,
sorry
well, we
guys.
had to.
So,
We
yeah.
kind of had to.
Yeah.
We kind of had to. We had to, but yeah, more like mortifying.
That's
That's
so funny.
Okay, pre-show hype song.
I used to always have a pre-race hype song.
Yeah.
Now I'd say anything Burna Boy or anything kind of music.
Yes.
Love. I just saw them. Most underrated F1 driver right now and your favorite.
Most underrated. I'd probably say Gabriel Bortoleto, just because he's a rookie on the grid and I think he's got a lot of talent, but he doesn't necessarily have the equipment to always show it off. Isaac Hadjar's been doing a great job, and that's why I'm saying he's not underestimated, because we've seen some great things from him this year.
And your favorite driver
of all time?
Oh, gotta say Lewis.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a secret to anyone though. Like, I'm not really supposed to have favorites or I would say when I do my job, I'm able to be totally non-biased, but he was my hero growing up.
Yeah.
Can't ignore that.
Yeah.
Favorite paddock fit you've ever worn?
You know, I have to wear 4 outfits every race weekend.
Really?
Yeah, because we start on a Thursday, so
Oh, so one
Yes,
for, yeah.
media
one
day.
for media day, and I think like I usually ramp them up. So Thursday is quite casual, then every day gets a little smarter.
Do you go like suiting? Do you go like...
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one because you want to be comfortable, you want to be like appropriately dressed for the environment. You're like, I'm not on a red carpet or whatever, so I still want to look good and I want to feel good in what I'm wearing, but I'm not allowed to wear open toe shoes. I'm not allowed to wear heels. Yeah, because we're in like a working environment in the pit lane or on the grid. You're not allowed open
so
toe
you mean
shoes or
trainers?
heels. So I wear a lot of boots, trainers, and now thank goodness ballerinas have come back in.
Yes.
Because like now we've got more options of closed toe shoes. But yeah, so it's a lot of outfits to have to go back through in my mind. But
Not the pink suit in the back of
there's
the
probably
movie.
there's probably like 2 that stand out in my head when I think of it now. Last year in Monaco, I wore this really nice Jean-Paul Gaultier suit. I like Monaco because it's like, I like a race where you can have a bit of a theme for the
Yeah.
weekend.
The classy theme, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
And then I once wore this like Gestus double denim, like skirt and jacket combo, and it was just really cool. And
That's
I just felt really cool when I wore it. So there you go.
Love.
Thank you so much, Naomi, for all of that. And guys, don't forget that we film all our podcasts. So head over to YouTube if you want to watch it and see what we're wearing. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. And we will see you very soon. Bye.